Whispers in the mist. The rain had fallen all morning, soft and steady, until just before dusk when the clouds parted and golden sunlight spilled over the sleepy hills of Elm. A faint shimmer lingered in the air, caught between the warmth of the setting sun and the last whispers of rain. It was the kind of light that made the world feel like it was holding its breath. 13-year-old Elena Ravenscroft stood alone on the stone path behind her grandmother's cottage, staring toward the distant horizon. She wasn't supposed to be out, especially not past supper, but something had pulled her like a thread, tugging gently at her chest. The rain had left the air fresh and wild, and with her boots squelching in the muddy grass, she followed the pull instinctively. Behind the cottage the hills rose gently, like the backs of sleeping giants. At the very top, there was an ancient oak tree that her grandmother called the listening tree. Elena often went there when she needed to think. Today was different, though. She wasn't thinking, she was listening. And that's when she heard it, a whisper, faint and musical, like wind brushing across wind chimes. Elena froze. She turned her head slowly, scanning the landscape. Nothing. Then she heard it again. Elena. The voice was barely audible, softer than the wind, but unmistakable. It wasn't scary, strangely enough. It felt familiar, like a lullaby she had forgotten, now returning to her in fragments. She quickened her pace, climbing the slick, muddy slope. As she reached the top of the hill, panting and flushed, she wiped her rain-speckled glasses and looked around. The valley below stretched wide and green, flecked with golden light, and arching across the sky from the far woods to the mountains beyond was the most vivid rainbow she had ever seen. But there was something else, something impossible. Just beneath the rainbow, from one of the distant hills, a thin, shimmering bridge of pure light extended from the ground, bending slightly in the middle like a delicate thread of crystal. It was not a trick of the light. It was real. Elena blinked hard. Then again, still there. The bridge looked solid, yet translucent, like a trail made of glass and fire, swirling with all the colors of the spectrum. It stretched far into the unknown, beyond the hills, where the sky looked darker, deeper, and different. And as she stared, the whisper came again, louder this time. Elena. She stumbled back a step. Who or what was calling her? She glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out of the bushes and laugh, but she was completely alone. Giddy grib, she muttered to herself. It's just the rain, or maybe I'm hungry, or tired. But the voice didn't go away. Elena should turn toward it. It was coming from the bridge itself. Then, like a fog lifting, a flood of memories hit her. The stories her grandmother used to tell by the fire, about the bridge of colors, a pathway that appeared only once in a lifetime, when the heart of a child was both brave and broken. A bridge that led to a realm not on any map, a realm her grandmother called the unknown. Back then, Elena had laughed. She had been 7, tucked under a wool blanket with hot cocoa in her hands. Now, she wasn't laughing, because the bridge was real, right there in front of her, and the whispering it knew her name. She looked back toward the cottage. Smoke curled lazily from the chimney. The window glowed warmly. Her grandmother was probably setting the table for supper. But here at the top of the hill, another world had opened. Something ancient stirred in her blood. Curiosity, yes, but something deeper, something older. The bridge began to shimmer brighter, as if it were reacting to her thoughts. She stepped forward, slowly. The closer she came, the more the whisper turned into melody. It wasn't just a call, it was a song, a memory, perhaps, of a place she had never seen but somehow always known. One more step. Her fingers brushed the edge of the light. It tingled, and just like that she saw. Not with her eyes, with something else. A kingdom without a name, a sky with 3 suns, beasts of mirror and flame, a river that whispered truths. It was a flash, gone in a second, but it was enough. She gasped, heart pounding, legs trembling. A voice called out behind her, real this time. It was Tom, her older cousin. He must have followed her up the hill. What are you doing? He asked, jogging toward her. You're going to get in trouble again. Come on. She turned to him, then looked back at the bridge. But the light was fading. No, she whispered. No, wait. The bridge dimmed. The song faded. The colors bled into the air like smoke, and it was gone. Tom didn't see anything. Just a wet field, a tired girl, and a fading rainbow. But Elena knew what she had seen. It wasn't a dream. The bridge had appeared, and it would return. She just had to be ready. And next time, she would cross it. The bridge appears. The days that followed passed in a strange haze. Elena moved through them like someone walking in a dream, half present, half elsewhere. She helped her grandmother in the garden, read her books, and did her chores, but her mind was far from Elmsworth. It was on the hill, at the edge of the mist. It was with the bridge, and most of all, it was with the voice that had called her. Elena, that whisper hadn't returned, not in words, but sometimes, when she stood alone under a cloudy sky, she swore she could hear the echo of that melody, a feeling more than a sound, just out of reach. She tried to talk to Tom about it. "You didn't see anything?" she asked him again 3 days later. "No, just you standing there, looking like you'd seen a ghost," he replied with a shrug. "You sure you didn't hit your head or something?" "I didn't imagine it," she muttered. Tom gave her a long look. "Sometimes people see weird things when they're sad, with everything going on your parents." "I'm not crazy," she snapped. "And don't talk about them like that." He held up his hands in defense. Okay, sorry, just maybe talk to Gran." Elena didn't reply. Not because she didn't want to talk to her grandmother, she did, but something told her that this wasn't something she could explain. Not yet, not until she saw the bridge again. The turning point came on the 7th day. The morning had begun like any other, misty and dull, the sky hidden behind low-hanging clouds. But just after lunch, the wind shifted, sunlight broke through in bursts, and a light rain began to fall. Even as the sky brightened, Elena's heart jumped. She ran outside without a coat, ignoring her grandmother's calls. Her boots hit the wet grass as she sprinted toward the hill. Her breath came in white puffs, even though it wasn't cold. Her chest pounded not from the run, but from hope. The clouds thinned, the rain glistened, and then there it was. The rainbow bridge, more vivid than before, its colors twisting gently like ribbons in the wind. It rose from the earth like a dream made solid, arcing toward the far horizon. And this time it wasn't fading. The melody returned, sweet and haunting, and with it, the voice. Elena now. No hesitation, no fear, she ran. As her foot touched the light, a warm pulse surged through her leg. It wasn't solid in the way stone or wood is, but it wasn't air either. It felt like memory, like walking on something alive and ancient. The bridge shimmered beneath her, glowing brighter with every step. The wind rushed around her ears, but it wasn't cold, it sang. Her hair lifted. The world behind her, the hills, the cottage, the village grew smaller, and the sky ahead opened. Colors shifted, time warped, the very air changed. Then she crossed. At first, she was blind, not from darkness but from light. The colors overwhelmed her. Reds that burned like fire, blues so deep they made her chest ache, greens that whispered secrets. The bridge ended, and she stepped onto a smooth surface that sparkled like wet glass. And then she saw it, the land beyond. It stretched endlessly before her. A world both beautiful and terrifying. Rolling plains of silver grass, trees with glowing leaves, and mountains that floated in the sky, tethered to the earth by golden chains. Above her, the sky was not the one she knew. It swirled with hues no human had ever named. And high above floated 3 suns, one pale white, one rose gold, and one deep crimson. Her legs trembled, her breath caught in her throat. "I'm not on Earth anymore," she whispered, and deep down, she knew she wasn't dreaming. Elena. In front of her, she turned and gasped. A woman stood before her, tall and cloaked in a robe that shimmered like the bridge itself. Her skin was like polished marble, and her eyes, they held galaxies. "You came," the woman said softly. Who are you?" "My name is Lyra, and I am your guide." "Guide to where?" Lyra smiled gently. "To the unknown." They walked together across a field where the grass whispered her name. Elena. Lyra explained little but hinted much. That this world existed parallel to her own, that only a few could enter it, and that Elena was among them because her heart was open to wonder and shaped by pain. "You were chosen," Lyra said, "because your world has forgotten how to see. The truths that don't fit into books, the memories that aren't yours, yet live in you, the paths that lead to elsewhere." Elena frowned. "Why me?" "Because you asked questions, because you saw the bridge, because you dared to listen." They came to a ridge. Below it stretched a city, but not of brick and stone. The buildings were formed from light and shadow, shifting constantly. Roads twisted through the air. Creatures soared on wings made of flame and feather. "What is this place?" she whispered. Lyra replied, "A place of beginnings and endings." Elena turned to her. "Will I go home, perhaps? But first, you must understand why you came." Elena swallowed hard. "Why did I come?" Lyra's gaze pierced her. "To find the part of you that you lost." Crossing the colors, the first night in the unknown was unlike anything Elena had ever experienced. There was no true darkness. Instead, the sky shifted from swirling suns to a sea of stars that pulsed softly like breathing. The land itself glowed in places. Crystal flowers opened beneath her steps, their petals casting soft blue light. Fireflies the size of coins danced in the air, forming patterns that disappeared when stared at too long. Lyra led her to a grove where the trees curved like arches above a pool of perfectly still water. "This is where you rest," she said. Elena hesitated. "What is this place, really?" Lyra crouched beside the water and traced a finger along its surface. Images swirled her own face, her grandmother's kitchen, her father's voice shouting during one of the last arguments. "This world reflects you," Lyra said, "but it also reveals what you hide." The pool shimmered again. A figure appeared, Elena's mother, smiling, then fading. Elena turned away quickly. "I don't want to see that," she whispered. "You must," Lyra said gently. "To cross this world safely, you must face what you carry." Elena tried to sleep on the soft moss, but the stars above blinked in strange rhythms, and the air seemed to hum with secrets. She closed her eyes tightly, but her mind was restless. When she finally drifted into dreams, they weren't hers. She saw a boy with eyes like hers, standing on a stone bridge with wind rushing past him. A mirror broke. A wolf howled in a canyon of glass. A whisper she must not wake it. She awoke gasping. Lyra was gone. In her place sat a creature. It looked like a fox at first, but its tail was made of mist, and its eyes were clear as moonlight. It cocked its head and said, quite plainly, "You're not from here." "No," Elena replied, sitting up slowly. "You smell like rust and salt and regret." Oddly specific. The creature stood calm. "The world's moving. You don't want to be left behind. Who are you?" It trotted off. "Name's Finn, I'll explain on the way." Elena followed Finn through a forest where every tree whispered different languages. Some hummed lullabies. Others recited poems in tones like wind. The ground shifted beneath her feet, sometimes solid, sometimes springy like trampolines. Finn was quick, darting ahead and back. She asked, "A guide sort of like Lyra?" "No, she's an initiator. She opens doors. I help you walk through them. Why me?" Finn paused, glancing back with glowing eyes. "Because the unknown doesn't invite tourists. Only seekers." "Seekers of what?" Finn smiled. "That depends." After an hour's walk, the trees opened into a great valley. A long ribbon of light stretched before them, another bridge, but this one hung between two cliffs, swaying in the breeze. Elena stepped closer. The bridge was made of bands of color, flowing and swirling like liquid glass. Each step shimmered. Music played faintly from somewhere deep below. "You must cross," Finn said. "To where?" "The threshold." "What happens if I fall?" Finn looked up at her. No one said this would be comforting. Elena took a breath and placed her foot on the bridge. Color surged beneath her, red first, then orange, then a pulse of blue. The wind picked up. The bridge trembled. She took another step, and another. Memories rose up with every color. On the green band, she remembered playing in her backyard before the fighting started. On the violet, she saw her mother's face the day she left. On the yellow, she felt the warmth of her grandmother's hug the night she moved in. Each step grew heavier, not from weight but from truth. The bridge pulsed, the wind howled, and then the light cracked. A sharp noise, like glass breaking underwater. The bridge lurched. Elena screamed and dropped to her knees. The colors warped beneath her, flashing erratically. "Hold still," Finn called from the far side. But something had awakened. From below the cliffs, shadows rose, figures made of mirror and mist. Their faces were blank, but their bodies shifted, constantly, sometimes human, sometimes animal, sometimes both. They reached up with long arms, hands made of shards. "The mirror beasts," Finn growled. "They feed on the past." "What do I do?" Elena cried. "Don't fear them. They grow stronger when you do." But fear was all she had. The beasts climbed the bridge. Every footstep cracked the surface. Elena backed away until her heel hit the edge. "No, no, please." One of the beasts leaned in. Its face twisted, and suddenly she saw herself reflected, not as she was now, but as a scared little girl, crying under her bed the night her parents announced the divorce. "You weren't enough," the beast whispered. She shook her head. "That's not true." The beast grinned. "But you believed it." She clenched her fists. Her voice trembled. "I didn't choose that." "No," the beast said. "But you let it define you." Then another voice rose. Not a beast's, her own. "I am more than what happened to me." A surge of color exploded beneath her. The bridge responded, light flared, and the mirror beast shrieked, retreating into the mist. Finn stood at the end, his eyes wide. Elena stood slowly. The bridge was solid again. The colors flowed calmly. She crossed the final few steps and collapsed at Finn's feet. "You faced it," he said. "That was the first trial. There are more, of course, but you've taken the hardest step already." She looked back once more. The beasts were gone, but she knew they'd return, and next time, she'd be ready. the land of shifting skies. When Elena opened her eyes the next morning, the sky had changed, not just in color but in form. The clouds above no longer moved like wind-swept tufts. Instead, they twisted into strange symbols, as if the heavens were writing messages just beyond comprehension. Some shapes resembled faces, others became creatures, serpents with glowing eyes, birds made of thunderclouds, wolves with wings of starlight. "What is this place?" she whispered. Finn yawned beside her, stretching like a cat. "Welcome to the land of shifting skies." "Does the sky always do that?" "Every hour, sometimes every minute. The sky here listens to your thoughts, your feelings. It reflects what you carry inside." Elena swallowed. "So those things, they're mine, in a way." "The unknown doesn't lie. It reveals." She glanced up. One of the cloud creatures, a long, coiling dragon, locked eyes with her and dissolved into mist. "I don't like being seen that deeply." Finn's expression softened. "Most people don't, but it's the only way forward." They walked through a wide field where the grass shimmered like wet silk. The path bent toward a distant tower of obsidian stone, surrounded by wind. Floating rocks circled it, moving with slow grace, like moons around a planet. "What is that?" Elena asked. "That," Finn said, "is the observatory of the forgotten, and it's your next stop. My next test." Finn nodded. "You'll meet the Watcher there. He remembers what the world wants to forget." "Great, that sounds cheerful." Finn smirked. "Try not to insult him. He's about 7,000 years old, very touchy about his age." As they neared the tower, the wind grew stronger yet. Never cold, it carried voices. Some were her own, from long ago. "Why can't you just be quiet?" "I wish you weren't my mom." Elena froze. "Did you hear that?" she asked. Finn gave her a sideways glance. "The wind here carries regret. Don't listen too long." But it was too late. The tower loomed before them, now dark, smooth, impossibly tall. It pulsed faintly, as though breathing. A door appeared not by swinging open, but by fading into view. "Elena Ravenscroft," a voice boomed. "Enter, and remember." Inside, the air was thick and still. Walls stretched impossibly high, covered in glowing marks that shifted as she looked at them. Time felt strange, like it was flowing sideways, and in the center stood the Watcher. He was tall, with skin like carved obsidian and a cloak of feathers that shifted from black to gold. His face was hidden behind a mask shaped like an hourglass. "You are early," he said, voice like falling sand. "Sorry," Elena replied. "Was I supposed to send a letter first?" A silence, then a faint chuckle. "Your sarcasm is intact." "Good." The Watcher raised a hand, and a ripple of golden dust spread across the floor. "This is the Hall of Forgotten Truths," he said. "All who pass must face the memories they buried." "I've already faced some," she muttered. "Mirror beasts, remember." "That was fear," the Watcher replied. "Now comes truth." The dust gathered in a spiral. Images formed in mid-Elena as a child, curled beneath her parents' argument. A younger Elena pushing Tom down the stairs during a fight. Elena refusing to visit her mother after the separation. She looked away. "Why do I need to see this?" "Because you carry it, and so long as you carry it without understanding, it controls you." She clenched her fists. "I was just a kid. I didn't ask for any of this." "No one asks for sorrow," the Watcher said, "but all must decide what to do with it." The spiral of memories twisted. One image held her gaze. Her mother crying in the kitchen, whispering, "I tried. I really tried." Elena stared at it, something breaking inside her. "I thought she didn't care." She did. But she was broken, too. Tears welled in her eyes. Not just grief. What if I never told her I forgave her? The Watcher stepped forward. "Then tell her now," Elena whispered into the golden air. "I forgive you." The memory flickered. "I'm sorry," till the dust dissolved. The hall brightened. The walls stopped shifting. The ground steadied. The Watcher nodded. "You may pass." But before she could leave, he reached into his cloak and withdrew a crystal pendant, shaped like a teardrop. "This is a memory light. It will guide you when your path is hidden." Elena took it, the crystal warm in her palm. "Where do I go now?" "Into the echoing hills, to the river of voices. There, you will begin to understand why you were chosen." Outside, Finn was waiting. His ears twitched when he saw the pendant. "You did well," he said. "Not everyone survives the Watcher's truths." Elena sighed. It didn't feel like success. It rarely does. But healing often begins in discomfort. They walked in silence for a while, heading east as the sun began to set. Above them, the sky shifted again, this time into soft blues and gentle pinks, a sign of peace. "I didn't think a bridge would lead to all this," Elena said at last. Finn looked up. "No one ever does. But few get this far." "Where did the others go?" He didn't answer. As night fell, Elena stared up at the swirling sky. Her reflection shimmered in the crystal pendant. She was changing, not just because of what she'd seen, but because of what she had faced. And though she didn't yet know how the story would end, she finally felt it. This wasn't just a journey, it was a calling. The mirror beasts, the river of voices, was still a day's walk away. But even from the rolling hills of crystal grass, Elena could hear it. Not water whispers. They floated on the wind like distant songs, too soft to understand, yet too persistent to ignore. The river remembers, Finn explained as they walked. It carries the voices of those who passed through before you, and sometimes even those yet to come. It doesn't make any sense, Elena muttered. Neither does this place. Sense is for your world. Here, we deal in truth, echoes, and memory. She didn't press further. She was still tired from the Watcher's trial. The images, the emotions, they had drained something deep inside her. And yet, she felt lighter, like a heavy stone had been lifted from her chest. They made camp beneath a tree with leaves that glowed in soft green pulses, like a heartbeat. That night Elena dreamed again. She was back on the Rainbow Bridge, but it was broken, cracked in the middle, light leaking like liquid into the void below. She stood at the edge, staring down. The darkness wasn't empty, it was watching her. Then the mirror beasts rose again. Dozens of them. They didn't attack, they waited. One stepped forward, its face forming into that of a younger Elena herself, maybe 6 or 7 years old. You left me behind, the girl said. I didn't mean to, Elena whispered. But you did. The mirror beast reached out not to harm, but to touch her hand. And when it did, she woke up. It was still dark, but Finn was already awake, ears twitching. You felt it too, he asked. Elena nodded. They were in my dream. They're not dreams. The mirror beasts are drawn to changes in you, especially when you shed old pain. Why? Because they're made of it, yours. Everyone's. She rubbed her eyes. They didn't attack me, not this time. No, you're not the same person they first met. They're watching, not hunting. Are they alive? Finn paused. They're echoes, incomplete reflections. But if you face them, they can become more. Become what? He didn't answer. They continued walking. As dawn rose, the landscape began to change. The grass thinned. The air grew cooler. The sky, still shifting, turned a deep turquoise threaded with gold. The whispers grew louder. And then they saw it, the river of voices. It wound through the hills like a serpent made of mist and light. There was no visible current. Instead, the water hovered inches above the riverbed, flowing without touching the earth. And the voices, now they were words. Don't forget me. She'll never come back, I'm sorry. Why didn't I say it? Elena stood at the bank, heart pounding. What do I do? She asked. Finn gestured toward the river. You enter into the river, he nodded. Only for a few steps. It'll show you what remains unsaid. Elena took a deep breath and stepped forward. The moment her foot touched the surface, sound exploded. Not noise me. The river swirled around her feet, then her legs. It didn't feel like water, it felt like memory, warm, cool, sharp, soothing. Thousands of voices rose and fell, but one came forward, clearer than the rest. Elena, are you there? She froze. It was her mother's voice. Not from the past, from somewhere else. I think about you every day. I wonder if you hate me. I wonder if you're okay. Elena's throat tightened. I never meant to hurt you. I just couldn't stay. Tears welled up. I don't hate you, she whispered. I missed you, I just didn't know how to say it. The river pulse, you still can. And just like that, her mother's voice faded, replaced by hundreds of others' voices of strangers, lost loves, forgotten children, unspoken forgiveness. Elena stepped back onto the bank, trembling. Finn placed a paw on her hand. You heard what you needed, he said. She nodded. And then the mirror beasts returned. This time, they didn't come from below, but from the river itself. They rose and silenced in of them, shimmering and strange. Their forms were clearer now, less twisted. Their faces flickered, not with malice, but curiosity. Finn stepped in front of her, but Elena raised a hand. No. Wait. The leading beast approached her slowly. Its form was tall, human-shaped, with a face like polished silver. It didn't speak, instead it held out both hands. In one, a shard of cracked glass, pulsing faintly. In the other, a small flame, hovering above its palm. Elena reached out, hesitated, then touched the flame. Instantly a vision flashed. She was standing in her kitchen, older, maybe 16 or 17. Her mother was there, laughing. The house was warm, peaceful, whole. The vision vanished. Elena gasped. What was that? Finn answered. A possible future. "And the other hand?" she asked. "The broken glass." He shook his head. "A path of pain." Elena looked back at the beast. Slowly, it nodded. "You're not just echoes," he whispered. "Pieces of me." The beasts bowed, then turned and vanished into mist. Silence returned. The river flowed on. Elena stood motionless, heart pounding. Not in fear, but in realization. "I thought they were monsters," she said softly, "but they were trying to give me a choice." Finn smiled. "Exactly, the unknown doesn't destroy you. It lets you see the roads you didn't know were there. And I chose hope. You did, and if I'd chosen the shard, then we'd be having a very different conversation." As they left the riverbank, the sky overhead changed once again. Now it shimmered in gold and rose, the colors of peace, the shapes above softened birds in flight, children running, branches reaching. The world was listening, and for the first time Elena wasn't afraid of what it would say. Allies of the unknown, Elena had never known silence like this. Not the silence of emptiness, but of deep listening, as if the world around her was waiting to hear her next move. She stood on the edge of a high plateau, the skies painted in swirls of lavender and gold. Below she could see forests that shimmered with unnatural colors, lakes that pulsed like they were breathing, and stone structures that looked like ancient temples carved into the bones of the earth. Behind her, the crystal labyrinth slowly vanished into mist. She had survived it, but she was not the same. Her mind kept replaying the vision of her brother, Thomas, or the mirror version of him. His voice had sounded so real. She still wasn't sure if it was just illusion or something more. Just as she was about to take a step forward, a soft hum echoed behind her. She turned sharply, her hand instinctively reaching for her satchel, even though she had nothing to defend herself with but a few berries and a piece of crystal. Out from the mist emerged a small creature, no taller than a rabbit. It stood on two legs and wore what looked like a vest made from flower petals. Its head was round, with large violet eyes and a long, feathery tail. "Elena," the creature said, pronouncing her name perfectly. She froze. "You know me." The creature nodded. "We've been watching. You're not the only traveler who crossed the rainbow bridge." Before she could ask more, two other figures emerged. A tall, broad-shouldered boy with shaggy brown hair, and a girl with curly red locks, freckles across her nose, and bright green eyes. "I'm Lucas," said the boy with a grin. "She means we're like you. We came through months ago, I think. Time is strange here. You survived the crystal labyrinth alone." "That's impressive." Elena blinked. "You came through the bridge too." "From where?" "Germany," said Lucas. "Scotland," said Freya. "I was on a hike when the storm came. And then the rainbow. We've been exploring together since we met," Lucas explained. "And Flint here," he gestured to the creature, "has been our guide. Well, when he feels like it." "I feel like it now," Flint said. "Because something is coming. Something dark." They all grew quiet. Elena suddenly felt the weight of her journey again. But also, for the first time, she didn't feel entirely alone. Campfire of strangers. That night, they made a small camp by a stream that shimmered like liquid moonlight. Elena sat close to the fire, warming her hands while the others talked. "We're not the first," Freya said, her voice soft. "Flint told us stories. Travelers have come here for hundreds of years, but they don't always leave," Lucas added. Elena looked up. "Because the unknown tests you," Flint said. "It tests your regrets, your fears, your hopes. If you can't pass the trials, you become part of the world, a reflection, a shadow, or something else." Lucas shuddered. "We've seen them. Empty people, lost souls. But there's more," Freya said quickly. "There are people who made it, who found the heart of the unknown, and crossed through to something greater. No one knows what lies beyond." "There's a map," Flint added. "Not drawn on paper. It's made of choices. Of light." Elena frowned. "What do you mean?" "You'll see," Flint said simply. The pact. Before they slept, the three of them stood under the violet sky, the moon enormous and golden above them. Stars moved in slow spirals, as if dancing. "We need to stick together," Freya said. "The unknown is too much for any one of us." "I agree," said Lucas. "What do you say, Elena?" She looked at them. Strangers a day ago. Now the only humans she could trust. "I say yes," she said. "Let's face it together." They each placed a hand on a flat stone at the center of the camp, and as their fingers touched, the stone pulsed with light. Flint narrowed his eyes. "Good, you've formed a bond that will protect you." "For a while." "A while?" Elena asked. But the creature had already climbed into a soft nest of moss and closed its eyes. A warning in the wind. That night, Elena dreamed of a staircase made of clouds. A voice whispered from far away. "The fifth light is watching you." She awoke with a gasp. "What did you say?" Freya asked. Already awake. "I didn't. I think I heard something in my dream." Lucas was staring at the sky. Something changed. The stars were no longer spiraling. They were still, and one of them had turned red. Flint opened his eyes slowly. "It knows you're here now," he said. "The fifth light has marked your path. Be ready." The morning light in the unknown wasn't like anything Elena had seen before. It wasn't golden, or warm, or even soft. It was silver like moonlight trapped in a sunbeam, and it bent around trees and rocks in ways that made it hard to tell what was real. The group moved carefully through a valley of hollow trees. The wind whispered through the trunks like flutes, and every so often a burst of musical sound would drift past them. Flint led the way, pausing often to sniff the air or tap on stones. "You said we're heading toward the heart of the unknown," Elena said to Flint. "What's actually there?" "No one knows," Flint replied. "Some say it's where all stories are born. Some say it's where memories go when they're forgotten. Others believe it's the edge of a dream that became real." "That's comforting," Lucas muttered. "The Mirror Tower." By noon they came to a clearing with a tower, or what looked like one. It was tall and narrow, but it was not built from stone or wood. It shimmered like glass, but when Elena touched it, it felt like still water. "Is this another trial?" she asked. Flint nodded. "This is the mirror of memory. It shows you what you've forgotten, and what you refuse to remember." "That sounds dangerous," said Freya. "It is," Flint said. "But beyond this, the real path begins. No one can pass who has not faced their own shadow." A hush fell over them. Elena stepped forward first. As her hand brushed the surface, ripples spread across the tower, and then, without warning, she was pulled inside. Elena's trial. She found herself in a bedroom, her bedroom from when she was 10. The old wooden desk, the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, the shelf full of books about magic and faraway lands. And there, sitting on the bed, was herself, a younger Elena, maybe 8 years old, clutching a stuffed fox. "You left me," said the younger version without looking up. Elena's throat tightened. "What do you mean?" "You stopped believing. You started pretending none of it mattered. But it did. It still does." "I grew up," Elena whispered. "That's not the same thing as forgetting," the child said. Then the room darkened, and the child's voice echoed. "If you forget who you were, you'll never know who you are." A flood of memories surged through her birthday parties. Tears at night, whispered wishes into pillows. The first time she lied to herself that she didn't care about her brother's disappearance. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "I'm sorry," Elena whispered. "I didn't mean to forget you." The child smiled softly and then vanished. The mirror shimmered again, and Elena was standing back outside the tower. Freya and Lucas. Freya came out next. She didn't say a word, but her eyes were red. She just walked up to Elena and hugged her tightly. Lucas stumbled out moments later, muttering, that was not cool. Why did it show me that?" "What did you see?" Freya asked gently. "My dad," Lucas said, before he left. The air around them was still. Even the trees seemed to respect the silence that followed. The road beyond Flint tapped his tail on a stone. "You passed, all of you, that's rare." "Do many fail?" Elena asked. Flint nodded. "Most turn away. They can't face what's inside." But now, the real unknown begins. As they walked forward, the path turned into a spiral of stone steps that descended underground. The light faded. Strange blue moss lit their way. "The next region is older," Flint whispered. "It's called the Vault of Echoes. Time doesn't work the same there." "How comforting," Lucas said again. "Don't worry," Flint replied. "You'll get used to being confused." They all laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was the only thing keeping fear away. A voice from the dark as they descended. A new sound filled the air. Not wind, not water, not even music. A voice. It was soft, distant, and repeating the same phrase again and again. "Return what was stolen. Return what was stolen." Elena stopped. "Do you hear that?" Freya nodded. "It's coming from everywhere, and nowhere." Flint frowned. "That wasn't here before." Lucas squinted into the dark. "Are we being followed?" "No," Flint said slowly. "Something is waking up." And then, with a flash of cold air, the steps below them vanished, and they were falling. They fell, but not in the way one falls through air. This was falling through memory, through sound, through time. Their bodies didn't tumble. They drifted, as if caught in a spiral of whispers and shadows. And then, without warning, They landed softly, like feathers on velvet. The vault revealed. They stood in a massive chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. All around them were archways carved into crystal walls, each pulsing faintly with color. The walls whispered, not in words, but in fragments of moments. A baby's laugh, a battle cry, a mother singing, a secret being told, a final breath. "What is this place?" Lucas whispered. Flint's fur bristled. "The vault of echoes. Here, every sound ever made leaves a shadow behind. Every truth, every lie, every forgotten promise still lingers." "I feel like I'm being watched," Freya said, rubbing her arms. "You are," said a new voice. Rich, feminine, ancient. From the center of the vault emerged a woman, or what appeared to be one. Her hair floated like smoke. Her skin shimmered like frost on silver. Her eyes glowed with violet light. "I am Celera, keeper of the vault," she said. "You have trespassed on sacred memory." "We're just trying to find the heart of the unknown," Elena said. "There is no path that does not pass through memory," Celera replied. "And yours are tangled." The Tessa sounded with a wave of a hand. The chamber shifted. Now Elena stood alone. Again the walls pulsed with voices from her past. "You're not strong enough. You always mess things up. Why do you even try?" Then another voice, softer. "Elena, I believe in you." Her brother's voice. Tears welled in her eyes. "Where are you, Theo?" she whispered. Celera's voice echoed above her. "The vault tests your soul. Can you carry the weight of memory without being crushed by it?" Lucas in the lie. Lucas found himself in a glowing corridor. A memory he had buried his best friend, 12 years old, looking at him with pain in his eyes. "Why did you tell them?" "I trusted you." Lucas had betrayed someone. Not for gain, but out of fear. He had never forgiven himself. Now, that echo screamed at him. "Coward! Coward! I was scared," Lucas admitted aloud. "But I won't run again." The corridor lit up, and the voices quieted. Freya's secret. Freya stood in a room full of mirrors, each showing a different version of herself. Confident, afraid, cruel, kind. In the center stood her father, arms crossed. "You'll never be enough," the echo said. Freya clenched her fists. "That was your lie, not mine." The mirror shattered, and she stepped through. The chorus awakes when they returned to the center. Celera looked pleased. "You faced your echoes. Few can do so without losing themselves." "Are we free to go now?" Elena asked. Celera's smile faded. "Not yet." Suddenly, the chamber shook. Cracks formed in the crystal arches. The chorus. "What's the chorus?" Lucas asked. "The echoes that were never resolved. Regret, hatred, vengeance, they hunger." The shadows swirled, forming shapes. Wolves with shattered eyes. Birds made of knives. Faces screaming with no mouths. Celera drew a sigil in the air. "I will hold them back. Run, go to the next gate." A path opened through the wall. A spiral of green light. "Go," shouted Celera. The escape they ran. Flint leaping from crystal to crystal, guiding them. The shadows chased, screeching. One lunged to Lucas. Freya shoved him aside and spun, flinging a shard of crystal into the beast's face. It dissolved in a shriek. Elena glanced back. Celera stood with arms raised, holding the tide, and smiling. "Remember who you are," she whispered as the fog swallowed her. They burst through the spiral gate. What comes next? They emerged in a floating forest, where trees had roots in clouds and birds flew upside down. The air smelled of rain and cinnamon. Flint panted. "That was too close." Elena stood still. "She saved us. She didn't have to." "She did," said Freya. "Because our journey matters." Lucas looked around. "Where are we now?" Flint answered quietly. "The Garden of Paradox, and it's where we'll find what was lost." Elena stared at the horizon. A shining spire of rainbow light, faint but real. Theo, she could feel it. The end of the road was near, but so was the beginning of something far more dangerous. The sky was upside down. Clouds floated beneath their feet, while trees stretched upward into an endless ocean above. Birds flew in slow motion, and time itself felt bent. Freya stepped forward cautiously. "Where even are we?" Flint sniffed the air. "The Garden of Paradox, where logic dies and dreams take root." A forest with no center. They moved through the garden, but the path behind them kept vanishing. Flowers bloomed and wilted in seconds. Trees whispered riddles. "You are where you've never been. You walk but never move." Lucas frowned. "How do we get out?" "You don't," Flint said. "You go through." The Watcher in the Mirror Lake. They came upon a lake of perfectly still silver. No ripples, no wind. Elena stepped toward it and gasped. Her reflection didn't match her movements. The image smiled, then spoke. "Elena, don't you want to know the truth?" Behind her, Lucas and Freya froze. Their own reflections were moving too, whispering things. "You left me behind," Elena's reflection said. "Theo was right. You always ran." Elena shook her head. "You're not real." "Oh, but I am," the reflection purred. "I'm the version of you that knows, the one you locked away. I know where Theo is." The choice of reflection. Suddenly, the mirror lake exploded into shards, each showing a different scene. Elena hugging Theo as children. Theo being pulled into darkness. Elena standing alone, crying. A throne of shadows with Theo seated upon it, eyes empty. "What is this?" Freya shouted. "The garden shows possibilities," Flint growled. "Truths, lies, echoes of choices not made." Lucas touched a shard, showing himself holding a glowing blade. "That's not me, is it?" "It could be," said a voice. A figure stepped out from between the trees. Neither man nor beast, made of fractured glass and flowing ink. "I am the gardener. I prune possibility." A test of reality. The gardener raised a finger. "Only one of you may ask a question." The group exchanged nervous glances. Elena stepped forward. "Then here's mine. Where's my brother?" The gardener tilted its head. "He walks the edge of nowhere, between light and memory. He chose to forget you, to protect you. He wouldn't." "He did," said the gardener. "And if you go to him, he may not bring him back." The way forward. The trees parted, revealing a spiral staircase made of moonlight. "The final gate," said Flint. "It leads to the prism throne." "The what?" Lucas asked. "That's where the unknown ends, and where it chooses." Freya glanced around. "I don't like this. Every step we take feels like a step into ourselves." "Exactly," said Flint. "Because in the end, it's not about finding the unknown. It's about understanding it." Elena finished. She reached into her bag and pulled out the rainbow fragment still glowing. As she held it, the forest responded. The trees bent inward. Bowing, the birds stopped. Time paused. The garden was recognizing her. "She is close," the gardener whispered. "And so is the shadow." The storm on the stairs. As they ascended the staircase of moonlight, a storm rose around them. Wind howled, whispers screamed, and from the sky a shape descended, made of shadow and glass, wearing a face they knew. Theo, or something wearing him. "Elena," he said in a broken voice, "you shouldn't have come." She stepped forward. "Is it really you?" "I don't remember," he whispered. "I became part of it. The unknown took me." His eyes flickered between love and void. "You must leave. If you reach the prism throne, it will choose one of us. The rest must disappear." Lucas asked. Theo looked at Elena. "It means you have to fight me." The staircase ended before a massive crystal gate, swirling with light and shadow. They had come so far across rivers of mist, through vaults of memory, gardens of paradox, and now this. Elena turned to her friends. "No matter what happens, I'm grateful. You helped me remember who I am." Lucas smiled. "Let's go show the unknown who we are." Freya drew a blade of starlight from her belt. "Time to end this." Flint bowed low. "The path ends here. All begins anew." The crystal gate pulsed once and opened. The crystal gate shimmered, then dissolved into a stairway bathed in shifting colors: red, blue, gold, and violet, like the fractured light of a rainbow. Elena, Lucas, Freya, and Flint ascended in silence, each step echoing in the vast emptiness around them. Above, the skies sang voices weaving melodies both beautiful and haunting. The throne room. At the top, the stairway opened into a vast chamber. The walls were endless mirrors, reflecting countless versions of themselves. In the center stood the prism throne, a seat carved from pure light, fracturing the air into dazzling rainbows. Theo stood by the throne, his form flickering between shadow and flesh. "Elena," he said softly, "you came." She took a steadying breath. "I'm here to bring you home, but I am part of the unknown now," he replied, "and it demands a choice." The choice of voice filled the chamber, neither male nor female, resonating from every mirror. To cross the rainbow bridge is to choose. One may return, but only if another stays. Elena looked at her friends. "I don't want to lose anyone." Lucas smiled sadly. "Sometimes sacrifice is part of the path." Freya nodded. "We're here with you." Flint growled softly, but there was understanding in his eyes. The battle within. Suddenly a throne pulsed. Shadows surged from Theo's form, coiling like serpents. "Fight me, Elena," he said, voice breaking. Elena stepped forward, holding the memory light close. The shadows lunged, but Elena remembered the regrets, the hopes, the love. She breathed, and the light flared pure, brilliant. The shadows screamed and shattered. Theo collapsed, real and whole. Return and reunion. The chamber dissolved into sunlight and warmth. Elena found herself on a hill overlooking a familiar valley. Lucas and Freya smiled beside her, and in the distance, a young boy ran toward her, his eyes bright with recognition. "Theo," she cried, tears streaming. He smiled. "You found me." The bridge remains back in their world. The rainbow bridge remained, but it was no longer just a path to the unknown. It was a reminder of the power to face fear, embrace memory, and choose hope. Elena, Lucas, Freya, and Flint would never forget, because sometimes the greatest journeys lead you back to yourself.